Hi, welcome back to the Arcade Repair Tips video series. Today we're going to talk about installing a fan inside of a video game. Now, games have changed a lot over the years, and one thing that we've realized is they really need more cooling. Let's look at a computer. If you were to buy a computer 10 years ago and compare it to one today, you're going to see the ones today have a lot more fans. Well, your old game may not have a fan in the back or circulating the air very well. And sometimes by installing a fan you can help it run cooler and last longer. So anyway, we hope you enjoy the video today. The first thing we want to talk about is what kind of fan do you buy? Because there's a lot of different fans out there for different uses, and most of them can be used in arcade games. A lot of it's going to depend on how we wire it up. This one right here is one of my favorites. This is about a 4.5 by 4.5. You don't necessarily have to have a huge fan, but of course, the bigger the fan, the more air that's going to flow, but not always the quieter. So you might also look for one that says it has ball bearings, because they will run a little bit quieter, and that may be something that you need in your game room. A little bit of noise might not bother you that much, but also we're going to put two fans in. Let's think about the concept of a fan and where to put it in a game. Well, what we generally like to do is put one fan blowing air in on the bottom, because your colder air in your room or your game room is going to be on the ground. Then as circuit blows up into your game, where the hotter components are, like your monitor, your boards and stuff, that's where you want to blow the air out. So you have one going in and one going out. It's typically what we recommend, but it's not a necessity. You can do it either way, but sometimes if you get the more airflow, even one fan is going to help you tremendously. But by all means, if you can, put two in. Now this one right here is a 12 volt fan. Most of the times right on the front of the fan will tell you how many volts. That's what's going to be important to you. That's going to determine how we wire it up. Now 120 fans, straight AC fan is fine. We can wire that up just as easy as we can 12 volts. But as you've already been working on your games, you realize that there's 12 volts in a lot of areas of your games, so it's easy for us to tie into. And today we're going to be installing a 12 volt fan. Okay, each game is going to be different, so you're going to need to decide. One of the first things, the important thing, is where you're going to put this thing. Well, number one, you need to put it somewhere where it's not right in the way. And also, you don't want it to be dangerous. Some little kids stick their hand in there or something. So you want to put it on the back of the game or underneath the game, somewhere inconspicuous at least. So, and sometimes you are going to feel air blowing out of it, so that might bother somebody if they're playing, if it's right in the middle. But anyway, follow me, camera guy. Let's look at this particular instance right here. This is a cocktail that a guy asked us to install fans in. What we're going to do is, this is the player 1 side. It also has a door, but on the player 2 side there's nothing, and you don't have as much going on the player 2 side. Also, the way he has this at his house, this would be the back of the game. So we're going to mount one over there, and then we're going to mount one in the bottom. Now we're not going to, normally we would use like the middle of the cabinet. In this instance, his monitor comes way down here and gets really close. We're not even sure if it's going to work right there. So to be on the safe side, we're going to put it closer over here. And all we're going to do is, once we decide where to put it, we let it line up, and then we take like a Sharpie, and we're going to outline around it. So right now I'm just tracing where the fan will go. Now I'm not going to cut a hole out this size, but I can kind of visualize what it's going to look like once it's in there. And we'll also do it right over here. And for those of you that are anal like me, you want to make sure that you can get a tape measure, whatever, make sure that it's equal on sides and stuff. I use the joystick, which is in the middle of the game, to line that up. So now that we know approximately where we want them to go, next step is to cut the holes. Let's talk about a couple tools that we need today. First thing is we need a hole saw to drill the hole. This one is a 4-inch, which is a really good size for cutting fans. especially that 4.5-inch fan. You don't want to cut out the whole area, so you're not going to have anything to mount your fan to. But if you just cut a 4-inch hole, that allows quite a bit of air. Of course, you can just drill a normal size or a pretty good size hole, and then you could get a Sawzall or a jigsaw or something up in there and make your hole. But these hole saws come in real handy. Look for ones that you need the bit in the middle. That really helps you to get started. Anyway, so you'll need a drill and a bit like this, or some kind of saw to make your hole. Okay, first thing we want to do is make sure that the bit is good and tight. Also make sure that you're going in the right direction. Simple steps sometimes make a lot of difference. Then we're going to center that right in our square that we drew and just begin to grip. Almost there. Now that we've cut our holes, we're going to screw the fan down into the wood on the cabinet, fan being on the inside of the game.
Nope.
Alright, now it's time to wire up the two fans. And what we did was we wired both fans together into the same terminals. So in our case, we had a blue wire, which is our ground, and a red wire, which is our hot. And then we wired both blue wires and both red wires together. And then we put like these fork terminals. I like to use these on power supplies because they're real easy to get out if you need to. But now all we got to do is, on the power supply here, is loosen up the ground terminal, slide it under there, tighten it back down. We pulled the power supply up. You could do this with it in there, but we pulled it up so you could read it. Sometimes it's easier too for us if you can see it. Here's the 12 volts up top. Keep in mind that it's always easier to use more wire than less wire. You can always tie wrap your wire back, but sometimes it gets to be a pain to have to add wire. Okay, now it's time to plug it in, just see if the fans work. Yay! Okay, now that we've got everything wired up and the fans are working, we just want to pretty it up a little bit. You see this kind of looks ugly right here. What we've taken is just some small mesh grate like you get at Home Depot, or sometimes that's why we're always buying old cabinets like at auctions and stuff for 10 bucks, 5 bucks, because a lot of them have parts like this inside where they covered up a fan or a speaker hole or something, and then you can use these later. And what we've done is, I think this one actually come out of a old Pac-Man game or something, and then we painted it, everything, and then all we'll have to do is just screw it in, cover it up like that, and that kind of takes care of that ugly hole. Well, now that we got the cover back on, it's time to play the game. So this project is done. But if you guys have any questions, just be sure and email us. Once again, thank you for watching the Arcade Repair Tips video series, now in high def.